Thank you for this very important question. And by the way, congratulations on becoming Deputy Leader of the Green Party. This summer, London experienced the hottest temperatures ever recorded and the driest July since 1885. We've long been preparing for the effects of climate change, and over the summer we promoted our network of cool spaces and together with the boroughs saw cooling centres open for rough sleepers. I also announced a new funding package in response to the heatwave of £3.1 million for tree planting to increase shade and cooling. Following last year's floods, I established a roundtable to convene the agencies with statutory responsibility for flood management to improve communication, preparedness and response. A pan-London group has subsequently been established to develop London's first citywide strategy on flash flooding, and in July we sent leaflets to 45,000 basement properties to warn them about the risk they face from flooding and advice on preparations. The London Resilience Partnership is well prepared for responding to extreme weather, regularly reviewing procedures and updating the London Risk Register. Revisions after last summer's flooding enable swifter responses this year. The London Fire Brigade's new Community Risk Management Plan sets out how they'll improve their ability to respond to new and emerging climate risks such as wildfires. My environment and planning policies are also helping London to adapt, and my Green New Deal programmes deliver green infrastructure, rewilding and natural flood management. My team are in regular contact with Thames Water and Ofwat, and we've been working with them to unlock hundreds of millions of pounds of investment in London's water infrastructure, and my officers have been meeting weekly with Thames Water to assess their management of the drought this summer. We also work closely with water companies in the South East to ensure they're cooperating to safeguard London supplies. But as the Climate Change Committee stresses, much more needs to be done to help the UK adapt to climate change. Our buildings are not ready for rising temperatures, and there's still no legal requirement to adapt homes, schools, hospitals or care homes. We need to install shading, better ventilation and reflective or green roofs alongside insulation. We need to increase public awareness of climate risk and build community resilience. The government must also overhaul building regulations, strengthen planning policies and fund widespread building retrofits, starting with those most vulnerable, so we can all adapt to the climate emergency.
Thank you very much for this answer, and if I can extend my thanks also to Assemblymember Sheikh for working together on the Pakistan motion. I want to turn our attention to the comments of Matt Rack from the Fire Brigade Union. He said in The Guardian, noting the challenge of climate change to the Fire Brigade, that there's a real horrible complacency, and he was talking about the government there. He thinks exactly the same things could happen again and some sort of disaster could happen. What would be your response to Matt Rack's comments?
In relation to wildfires?
To both. Well, let's go with the wildfires.
No, I think Matt's right. Look, one of the things that was astonishing about the heat waves this summer, you'll remember us using our communications channels to remind people 40 degrees Celsius means basically if you've got a cool home, stay at home. If you're going to be out, wear cool, loose clothing. Our firefighters were going towards fires wearing the heaviest, most oppressive kit you can imagine, breathing apparatus, trying to put these fires out. Because of their brilliance, no lives are lost. But, you know, the FB, you're right in relation to us sleepwalking into regular wildfires, regular flash flooding, and the two things that are required, which you know very well about, one is dealing with the consequences of climate change, the adaptation, but also avoiding it get even worse. This is now with temperatures south of 1.5 degrees. Imagine if they got to north of 1.5 degrees.
Right, I think you're exactly right on that. And I've been in touch with the Fire Brigade Union. Now, they're worried about the national challenge, and they say they need new resources now, new investment. You'll know very well that they had their worst day since World War II. They were running out of handling call operators on that day, and we were almost running out of fire engines. Now, that was a small, intense heat wave that I'm not underplaying. It was still incredibly dangerous, and they did do amazing work. But we're always worried about this chain of events. You know, if a few events happened, what would happen then? So my question is this: given the scale of the climate emergency, and I believe you get that, you talk very well about it, but isn't it time that we also increase the scale of the fire brigade? So we're talking new stations, new equipment, and new staff.
If only. I mean, I'm the first firefighter since 2008 who's not been cutting firefighters, not been cutting fire stations, not been closing down and removing fire engines. We give from City Hall much more to the London Fire Brigade than the Home Office advises we should give. And you'll notice in the most recent plan that was consulted on, we talked about the importance of adaptation and resilience. The stark reality is we've had to increase council tax precepts to invest in the fire service. You mentioned the wildfires. Imagine if, God forbid, there'd been a fire like Grenfell on the same day as one of those wildfires. And so we're dealing with transformation from both HMI reports and Grenfell and adaptation. using the limited resources we have, and the government needs to give us much more support. We simply can't do it alone. Any support you can give in lobbying the government is clearly greatly appreciated, but we already give London Fire Brigade way and above what the Home Office advises.
I'll absolutely continue to lobby the government, but isn't there a case here that you can reprioritise some of your budget? And we have the Marshall Plan in America in response to the war. Shouldn't we be looking at a war footing, essentially, in really making sure the London Fire Brigade are ready for the climate emergency and other future climate events?
Well, I mean, the Marshall Plan, which the government had from the US government, has only recently been paid off. I'm afraid I've not got the ability to borrow, as the government has. And with the interest rates now, because of the government's incompetence being where they are, I'm not sure it's wise to borrow at the rates caused by the government's mini budget, but we'll look into whatever way we can to support our fire service. The fire service know since 2016 they've had a mayor on their side and our current being on their side.
I'm out of time, but I'm sure we'll continue this conversation. Thank you, Chair.